Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're jumping right into what feels like a highly classified, high-stakes medical dossier. But here's the catch. This impending global medical anomaly was meticulously documented centuries ago in the ancient palm leaf manuscripts of India. We're investigating a very specific set of prophecies known as the 7 sounds of death, the 64 pandemics, all derived directly from the authentic texts of the Bhavishya Malika. And look, we're not just talking about a generalized warning for a bad flu season here. This is a highly detailed chronological breakdown of the total collapse of modern medical science, brought on by exactly 64 airborne diseases. So today, we're opening up the dossier on what these texts predict, who's going to be affected, and what the ancient scriptures mandate as the one and only protocol for survival.
Let's just dive right in with a direct and frankly pretty terrifying prophecy from these texts. The scriptures say, at the end of Kali Yuga, such unknown diseases will come that the wisdom of physicians will stop working. According to the Bhavishya Malika, which was written by the great seer Saint Achyutananda Das and the Panchasakhas, the world is going to face a completely catastrophic failure of medicine. We aren't talking about a stubborn virus that just takes a little while to cure. The texts explicitly warn of a tipping point where the absolute best of our modern medical science, our advanced diagnostics, and all our treatments will just prove entirely ineffective. Countless people will succumb to illnesses we don't even recognize, leaving humanity completely defenseless from a scientific standpoint.
And the original scriptural evidence for this is incredibly stark. The ancient Odia slokas act almost like a definitive whiteboard for this impending medical failure. The Bhavishya Malika precisely records the moment medical professionals are left totally baffled. The texts translate to state that unidentifiable diseases will completely envelop the world. The intellect of top doctors will be confounded, and our greatest medicines just won't work anymore. It's a highly documented warning of an era where conventional worldly remedies are completely stripped of their power.
Building on that, the scriptures actually get unbelievably specific about the exact nature of this threat. The phrasing warns that 64 unknown diseases will circulate persistently, literally roaming again and again. These are described as 64 distinct types of pandemics that will force human society to its knees, causing massive, unprecedented fatalities. We're talking about an airborne, highly contagious, and absolutely relentless wave of 64 different afflictions sweeping across every single village and country on Earth.
So what does this actually look like on the ground? Well, the clinical profile described in these texts is absolutely shocking, mostly because of how sudden and severe it is. The Malika details that people could literally just be walking down the road, sitting at home or sleeping, and suddenly face fatal medical events. We're talking sudden heart blockages and heart attacks striking down even the young and perfectly healthy. The scriptures explicitly mention unexpected, fatal brain strokes, sudden bouts of continuous blood vomiting that end in death within an hour, severe gastritis, and uncontainable cancers that spread wildly. It paints a picture of a disease environment so aggressive that there will barely even be time for people to seek out help.
And this is where we see this jarring disconnect between our modern worldview and the reality presented in the scriptures. Think about it. Our modern expectation is that when a massive outbreak hits, our medical advancements, our brilliant doctors, and our cutting-edge hospitals are going to act as a shield and save us, right? But according to the Bhavishya Malika, the reality is going to be the exact opposite. The texts state that these diseases will be so aggressive that the doctors and the healers themselves will be the very first to perish. It poses a totally logical but terrifying question. If the doctors die first, who's going to stop the disease? Who treats the patients? Basically, our entire modern medical infrastructure is predicted to be rendered totally helpless.
So how is this even possible? To understand that, we have to look at what you might call the spiritual physics of this threat. You see, these are not random biological viruses born in a jungle or a lab somewhere. According to the Malika, these are actually the 64 Yoginis, divine mother forces acting under Mother Yoga Maya. The texts explain that these forces are going to roam the entire world in subtle, invisible forms and enter people's bodies as disease. So this is actually a targeted clearing event. It's a divine mechanism specifically designed to sweep away adharma, which means unrighteousness and corruption, essentially clearing out the old world order so a new era can begin.
Now, when we're examining texts of this magnitude, the source of the research is absolutely critical. The authority behind bringing this knowledge to light is Pandit Dr. Shri Kashinath Mishra. As a distinguished scholar from the Jajpur Mukhya Pandav lineage in Odisha, he has literally dedicated over 4 decades of his life to rigorously researching these exact prophecies. His extensive work, including translating the Malika into multiple languages, is the absolute foundation that brings this highly complex, ancient prophetic science to a modern global audience.
And it's also really important to mention that these teachings are being researched and propagated globally by Pandit Dr. Shri Kashinath Mishra alongside the Biswa Sanatan Dharma Seva Trust. Their core mission is ensuring the transmission of authentic, entirely unaltered scripture. So they aren't out here inventing modern theories or twisting ancient words to fit some new narrative. They are providing direct, heavily researched access to the original ancient texts to clearly warn humanity about what is objectively written regarding our very near future.
Okay, so all of this brings us to the absolute most urgent question. Is there any way to survive this? Well, according to the Bhavishya Malika, the answer is actually a surprising yes. But the standard for survival has absolutely nothing to do with what we'd consider conventional safety. Protection from these 64 roaming diseases is not determined by where you live, it's not determined by how much wealth you've hoarded, and it for sure isn't determined by how deep of a doomsday bunker you can build. The text declared that survival is strictly determined by an individual's alignment with Dharma, meaning righteous conduct, living in truth, having compassion, and staying in total harmony with the divine order. To actually achieve that alignment and secure your protection, the Malika outlines a very precise, 4-step spiritual remedy. Think of it as a divine survival protocol. First, you have to adopt a strict vegetarian diet, completely stepping away from the killing of living beings. Second, you must perform daily Trisandhya. Third, devotees are required to read the Srimad Bhagavat Mahapuran every day. And fourth, you must continuously chant the Madhava Naam, which is the holy name of Lord Kalki. The scriptures insist that following these exact steps is the only way to create an impenetrable energetic shield against the 64 pandemics.
Let's break down the most active element of this daily requirement, which is the Trisandhya. Now, this isn't just a casual practice you do whenever you feel like it. It's an essential discipline of offering prayers at 3 very specific junctures of the day. You have to wake up at Brahma Muhurta, which is the very early morning, to perform the morning Sandhya. Then you follow it up with the midday Sandhya, and you conclude with the evening Sandhya. According to the texts, faithfully executing these 3 daily prayers acts as an active, guaranteed divine shield against the 64 Yoginis and the impending medical catastrophe.
And along with those daily prayers, immersing yourself in Scripture provides the final, vital layer of immunity. The texts are very specific here. One must read a chapter of the Srimad Bhagavat Mahapuran, not just any text, but specifically the Srimad Bhagavat Mahapuran, sometime between early morning and midnight. When you combine that with the continuous chanting of the Madhava Naam, it invokes the direct grace and absolute protection of Lord Kalki. The Malika essentially promises that when all our conventional defenses fail us, when the medicines stop working and the worldly chaos peaks, devotees who are armed with this spiritual protocol will remain completely untouched.
All right, let's zoom out for a second and see how this all fits into the macro timeline of human history, because the Bhavishya Malika doesn't actually view this destruction as the end of the world. It views it as a severe but necessary transition. According to this authoritative research, the 5,124-year lease of the Kali Yuga has already officially elapsed. That means right now, in this current decade, we are living in the Yuga Sandhya. It's a twilight period, a transitional cusp marked by massive global upheaval, the 64 pandemics, and world conflicts. But all of this destruction is characterized in the text as intense labor pains, leading us directly to the year 2032.
And that brings us to the ultimate destination. The year 2032 marks the glorious dawn of the Satya Yuga, the age of truth. The Bhavishya Malika points steadily past all the darkness of this current decade toward a unified, peaceful world order. By 2032, the prophecies state that all major and minor beliefs are going to assimilate into one single eternal religion, Sanatan Dharma. It's a coming era where humanity actually becomes one global family, living in pure truth, peace, and compassion. All the preceding destruction simply clears the path for this exact magnificent rebirth.
So, the dossier is officially open, and the timeline is set. The Bhavishya Malika gives us a stark warning about an unavoidable medical collapse and the unleashing of the 64 pandemics, but it also hands us the exact spiritual blueprint to survive it. If we take these ancient texts at their word, the great transition is already here, and the choice we have to make is deeply personal. As the 64 Yoginis prepare to clear away the unrighteousness of the old world, the lingering question is this: are you ready to embrace Dharma, adopt the spiritual protocol, and step safely into the age of truth in 2032? Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and take these ancient insights to heart.